It's fine. Hey, it's Romania Black, and it's fine. We just got 3 episodes left of Trigun, and Wolfwood's dead. No worries here. I'm really sad that Wolfwood is dead, damn it. It hit me in the reaction, and then when I went back and rewatched, it hit me even harder, and I was like, no! Oh, man. And then we talked about it in the Discord a little bit, and I got so agitated. I was like, I am so mad. Because I really honestly thought that Wolfwood would make it to the end. I thought Wolfwood would make it to the very end. Maybe he would die to Legato. Maybe Knives would kill him. I was expecting one of those 2 scenarios. I was like, I was not going to be surprised if Wolfwood had died at the hands of those 2. But for the chapel guy, I mean, I get the metaphor and the symbolic thing about the mentor and the student and don't steal people's green apples. It's a bad omen. I get all that. That all makes sense. But it's just so frustrating because now I am a bit worried, right? I'm a bit worried because it's just Vash. I mean, Meryl and Millie are there, but Millie is quite useless right now because she's grieving Wolfwood. And Meryl can't really do anything except fire her pea shooters, which is nothing to Legato, and definitely nothing to Knives. So it's literally Vash against the world at this point. And not all of the gung-ho gang is gone. Mid-Valley's still there. Mid-Valley's still there. Legato's still there. I don't know if there's any gung-ho gang members left except Mid-Valley and Legato, but still, Mid-Valley, I'm sure, is not to be trifled with. I'm sure. I was wanting Wolfwood and Mid-Valley to face each other, damn it. I mean, I applaud the story for going where we didn't think as an audience it would go, and to have Wolfwood die, it's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off, but man, I don't know. I miss him already. I feel like there's already a Wolfwood-shaped hole in my heart. And it's very saddening. So, and I don't know how Trigun Stampede's gonna do it. I don't know how that's gonna go. I don't want to know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And the manga's gonna be probably terrible. I don't want to cross that bridge yet either. We'll get there, but it's just very heartbreaking. And I really grew to like Nicholas Wolfwood, and we got his backstory. We got all we needed to know, but now he's gone. And it's very, very sad. So, I don't know. I don't know what to expect at this point. We have 3 episodes left of the main series and the movie and then Trigun Stampede. I'm very excited to get to the other series, but I'm really... We've built up to the last 3 episodes. It's like, okay, well, what are we going to do, right? What are we going to do? And so, obviously, the last episode is going to be the big climax and resolution. So, it's like, how are we going to build up to these 2? Well, we got to face Legato and Mid-Valley. I wouldn't be surprised if this last 3 episode was a set, like a 3-parter. It's like a part 1, a part 2, and a part 3. I wouldn't be surprised because this is like the final act. Vash is going in against Legato and Knives. I wouldn't be surprised if Legato was like act 1 and then Knives was like act 1 into act 2 and then Knives was the end of act 2 into act 3. I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't know. I just, what can we say, right? What can we say? I'm really excited to see what this set of episodes gives us, but at the same time, I don't know. So I will say one thing. My internet has been going in and out all night. It's been very frustrating, and so I'm going to cross my fingers, knock on wood, that it stays on during the reaction. I don't need the internet for the discussion. We're fine there, but I do need the internet for the reaction portion. So I will go ahead and apologize if there are cuts, if there are edits. If it does that, I'm sorry. I'm gonna cross my fingers, say a prayer, hope that reaction stays on, but my internet has been cutting in and out and it's frustrating, but I can't wait because it's on the books to watch tonight. So, and who knows if the same thing will happen again. So we just got to hope that things turn out, right? Right. Hopefully they will. So we're not going to waste any more time though, y'all. I've been eagerly waiting to dive into this episode. I've not wanted to dive into it without Wolfwood, but what can we do? So we are going to not waste any more time and dive into episode 24 of Trigun and see what we get. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, one. And gentlemen, start your engines and may the best Trigun episode win. And let's go. Man. Trigun, am I right? Oh, this episode. Wow. Well, this is one of my favorite episodes in the whole series so far. But damn, it's hard. Damn, it is hard. It is hard because Vash has killed someone. He's killed Mid-Valley. Or he inadvertently killed Mid-Valley. This is the thing. We're going to talk about that in this. He actually did shoot Legato in the face, killing him, right? But, Legato brings up a very good point, though. And I think it's something that Vash has been avoiding kind of the entire time. And that is by trying to avoid killing people, he has inadvertently caused a lot of destruction, which has led to the deaths of others. And you can't really blame Vash for wanting to be like, well, I didn't kill anybody, but Legato's like, yeah, you didn't, but also because of your actions and not taking care of the situation this way, it caused this to happen. So from that, what's so sad about it is that Vash is like the ultimate pacifist. He doesn't want to kill anybody. And he wants to have the perfect ideal world where you can have the moths and the spiders together and nothing happen. But the real world doesn't exactly work like that. There's always going to be a struggle, and there's always going to be a predator and prey. And so what really becomes the situation is, what I think Vash could try to do is say, well, yes, you have to, a human has to kill a chicken to eat and live, but the humans shouldn't be fighting amongst themselves, right? Like the chickens shouldn't fight amongst themselves, the humans shouldn't fight amongst themselves, and the natural order of the world will work its way out. So what he's trying to be doing is just trying to be pacifist and say, well, humans shouldn't kill humans, and I shouldn't kill anybody else either, trying to incorporate himself into the group of humans, kind of like what he was doing with Rim. But, you have Knives on the other end he's like, no, we are superior beings than the humans. We are beyond them. And Vash is like, no, they're the same as us. And Knives is like, hell no. And so that creates that conflict. But you have to admire Vash for what he's trying to do. He's trying to have the paradise that Rim wanted. But the problem is that the circumstances for that paradise just aren't being met, right? There's not that opportunity, and things just, God, this whole episode. But here's Legato's point, right? Legato brings up this point, right? And Legato establishes the idea that, get this marker going, right? That actions or inactions have consequences. That if you do not act, there is a chance that another reaction will occur. And if you do act, it's like everything you do is going to have consequences. Because we had Wolfwood, who chose not to kill Chapel, and that was a choice. And that choice, the thing about it is, it sucks that I don't think it's that Chapel wasn't going to kill him, but Legato made him kill him. That's the problem, is that normally, there's always going to be conflict. But Vash's whole ideology is that it can be negotiated, and that peace and love can be the superior, right? The problem is that then you have beings like Legato and Knives who are so twisted and warped and nihilistic, and they're so out of that belief that you have, like, what happens, the concept of what happens when you face a force against that doesn't believe that, right? Because the whole thing about it is you have to have both parties able to come to the table in order for there to not be conflict. And, in a prey, Vash is trying to say, well, humans are beyond predator and prey, and Knives is like, no, they're not. And that's what makes it so complicated. Vash is trying to say, well, humans are a more intelligent species, and they're beyond the idea of the predator and prey and beyond murder and stuff like that. And Knives is like, no, we're all animals, and it's just this whole thing of a superiority complex, and when you strip people down to their base emotions, no, people will do anything, right? Which is so fascinating to me, because Knives like wants to believe that everybody's an animal, and Vash is like, no, we can be better than that. And it's so interesting to see like the dichotomy of how Knives thinks and how Vash thinks and how they're so dissimilar. And the voice acting with Knives and Vash, like the voice actor for Knives, I don't think it's the same voice actor as Vash, but the voice actor for Knives, if it is the same voice actor as Vash, that'd be amazing. And he changed his voice to make it deeper and more menacing. But if it is a different voice actor, that would also be interesting too. Like he was just kind of saying, no, it's like this. So Vash's whole idea is that Vash, and I guess Rim's ideology, is to have this paradise where there is peace and love. And Knives is thinking that that is not possible. And the worst part is that Knives and Legato, they throw all of these scenarios that may or may not normally happen and force Vash's hand. Like, the thing of it is, what we don't know, and what I was waiting to happen in this episode, was that when they're on the hill and the group of men are surrounding Meryl and Millie, what I was waiting on Legato to say is that I'm not forcing them to do anything. I was waiting on that. I was waiting on Legato to be like, they're doing this without me forcing them. Because at first, the mob shows up to attack Vash, and it's just Legato and him on the hilltop, and then the mob comes to attack Vash. And what I was expecting to happen was that Legato was like, I'm not controlling them. They're attacking you because they find you as a threat, and they want to kill the spider before it eats the moth. And that's what I was waiting for that moment to happen, and Vash to be like, what the fudge? And he's like, see, the people that you've been trying to protect are turning against you. I was waiting for Legato to do that, but instead, Meryl and Millie, I feel like Legato realized that wasn't going to sway Vash, and so then Meryl and Millie get brought up into it, and then it's like to force his hand. And at that point, I don't think that the mob would have just attacked Meryl and Millie without it being Legato's actions. So that kind of takes away from the scene a little bit, but it comes down to the idea of what do we want to protect and how far will we go to protect it. And I think, honestly, that works for both Knives and it works for Vash. Because the only difference is, and this is like, I don't know, you could say this influences Attack on Titan, it influences other anime as well. But for Vash, it's the idea of he would rather change the world to have everyone together, even if it puts himself at risk. Like, the thing of it is, Vash is willing to hurt himself for the world. Knives is willing to hurt the world for Vash. I'm not going to be surprised at the end of it all if Knives isn't like, I'm doing this all for you. You know? I'm doing this all for you. I'm killing this worthless planet of scum so that you and I can be together and it can be just the two of us and we can be safe. Because you can see Knives arguing, being like, I could see Knives arguing, one, that he and Vash are this superior species and that the human race, humanity, is just scums or parasites or whatever, and he's like, they don't deserve to live next to us, these, gods or this energy source or whatever they are. I could see Knives saying that, but I could also see Knives being like, you're my brother, and when we were on that ship, we were constantly in danger from these humans, and so to keep you safe, Vash, and so that you and I can be together forever, we've got to get rid of all these other vermin that are hurting you. And I could see Knives in the next 2 episodes being like, look, Vash, they're responsible for your pain. These humans are the ones hurting each other. Isn't that sad? Why don't we just get rid of them, free them of their misery on this lonely rock that they can't inhabit, and then it's just the 2 of us and we'll be together forevers. We'll be besties forever, bro. Like, I like the dichotomy here and the parallel where you have, I do think Vash cares about, I think Knives cares about Vash, but I think Knives cares about Vash so much that it's twisted and warped into this disturbing mindset that I'm going to destroy the world to save you. You know, we haven't seen that in any other series I'm watching on this channel. Haven't seen it at all, right? No, not one bit. But I think looking at it through that perspective, it makes a lot more sense. And it's interesting, right? But God, this episode. So we need to go through this episode and just get on in it. We get confirmation that Chapel is the one that killed Wolfwood, and it was because of Legato. Man, Legato just looks, him and Mid-Valley are drawn so well in this episode. They are drawn so well. Like that shot where he gets off the little whatever, the carriage or whatever to see Chapel, and you will never convince me it's like him at Mid-Valley, and it's like Mid-Valley and Legato do the thing where like a couple, if they don't want to get caught at work being in a relationship, one guy goes out first and be like, oh yeah, just got out of work, and the other person follows behind like 5 seconds later, and they're like, oh yeah, how did we get here at the same time? What? Were Legato and Mid-Valley making out in the van the whole time, the caravan? We don't know. Let me ship this. Although I feel for Mid-Valley, because if we're going to ship Mid-Valley and Legato, it's like unrequited love, because Mid-Valley clearly has a thing for Legato, but Legato is like all in for Knives. So I'm glad we get confirmation that Knives and Legato aren't the same person. I thought that for a time that they were the same person, maybe, and Legato was just disguising himself as Knives, or Knives was disguising himself as Legato. He'd like pull out the contact lenses and that'd be a thing. But I guess in this world, that's not a technology they would have. Ancient technology of the contacts, I do like the fact that visually Legato has the blue hair and the yellow eyes, and then Knives has the yellow hair and the blue eyes. It's just like the polar opposite, the reverse. I want more with Legato, and I'm hopeful that the manga will give us that. I'm pretty sure it will. I'm excited to get there whenever we do, because I want more Legato and more of his backstory. But man, so the telekinesis powers, like I wanted to explain what Legato was, why he had telekinetic powers, how he got these powers, what it was about. I'm assuming we'll either get it in the next episode, or if we don't, the manga will give it to us. I can be a patient woman. I can wait it out, or maybe they'll never explain it, and that's just part of his character, right? I think that we get so conditioned as a modern audience to have everything explained to us that sometimes it is kind of interesting when a creator goes, no, I'm not going to explain it. You fill in the blanks yourself, and it's like, okay. But it is so disturbing watching him take Chapel and like rearrange his arms and flip them around, and then Knives just shows up. And Knives showing up and Legato being like, oh, hey, master, what's up? And just Mid-Valley being like, holy shit, he's here. And then Knives is just like, oh, hi, it's me with this deep booming voice and Dorito dad body. Don't mind me. I thought it was interesting how Chapel says he doesn't know how to live with a debt, that he doesn't know how to live when he owes something, which is an interesting little philosophical look into his character, that he wants to leave no stone unturned, nothing on the table. But so we're gonna talk about this, what he's gonna do, because Knives says that animals instinctively run when they sense danger, and like the true fear comes out with them, when they're pushed up against the wall, right? It's like he tries to put humanity down off of its pedestal, saying you're not the superior beings that you think you are, and he's like, I want to show you that. And so then of course he's like, your behavior is completely irrational. I don't know why you're behaving this way. Even the word foolish fails to describe you. And it's so weird. The only reason the human race came to possess humanity and morals is because it thinks it's above beasts. It's so funny because I'm actually writing a speech right now, or working to write a speech with a student. And we're talking about like the model. It's called like Science of Morality. And it's like disgust and human creatureliness. It's like an article from like 2001. But it talks about how we as humans, we like to think that we're better than beasts, and that we try to elevate ourselves above death thinking that we're above it and that we try to distance ourselves from the concept of death because the concept of death reveals that we're not any better than the other animals of the world. And so it's the idea of when we see things that are grotesque or we see things that are violent, it is a reminder of our closeness with death, and it kind of alters the way that we perceive things. And it's an interesting article. If you ever get it, it's called Morality, Science, Disgust, and Human Creatureliness. It's by, I can't think of their names, like Goldenberg and Pazinski, I think is their names. But it's from 2001. It's like Journal of Experimental Psychology. It's interesting. It's an old article, but it's fascinating. And they do all of these studies about how we tie morality and our own vulnerability to death, right? Interesting. But yeah, it seems like Knives is just like going on this philosophical rant about such things, which is interesting. He's also, for being a little cryogenic tube, he's pretty buff, right? Pretty buff compared to Vash. Vash is like a string being compared to him, which I'm a little bit worried about. Like, Knives has like been doing revenge push-ups for the last 50 years in preparation to take on his little bro. And Vash has just like been eating donuts, being like, oh my God, they're the twins where like Vash doesn't gain any weight and just eats all the donuts, is this like scrawny string bean. And like Knives got like buffed out and is on steroids from the gym and he's roid raging every 5 seconds. It's crazy. The moment they taste true fear of knowing a far superior breed exists, they act entirely on instinct. So again, that is Knives trying to show his superiority towards the human race, which is interesting because Knives has kind of had reactions similar to how humans would react as well. So it's kind of a little bit hypocritical on his part. And then Chapel says the cornered mouse will attack the cat, which is not quite true. Having raised cats and having mice, no, mice are usually pretty powerless against cats and they don't do anything. They just die. Now rats, on the other hand, they're a little bit bigger and feistier, but having seen cats fight many a rat or many a mouse on my farm, they're not able to put up much of a fight, unfortunately. But it's nice that Chapel wants to like say those words. That's nice that he wants to say it, but Knives is like, you've not grown up on a farm, have you? And then he twists it. He says that's because the mouse is seeking death to escape the pain. So what's interesting here is you have the concept of the mouse fighting the cat. And you have one way of looking at it being that you have one way of looking at it saying the weaker fights to survive. That's the positive way to view it. That is the optimistic way to view it, is that the mouse, the weaker, is fighting to survive, and that's why it fights back. The more nihilistic and negative way to look at it is that the weaker is seeking death. So it's either like, are you being brave or do you have a death wish, is how we're viewing the situation. Are you being brave going into battle against a foe that you know you can't defeat, or have you just given up and you're seeking death? Both answers are correct. It just depends on your mindset and how you view the situation, which is the debate between Chapel and Knives at this point, right? Interesting. So then he like stands up and we light like the lamps light, and then there's this like black beam, and he's just like, this is the ravine between life and death. And Mid-Valley's like, the fudge. Mid-Valley's like, I don't want to be a part of that. Mid-Valley's like, this is why I ride in the carriage with the other guy. I don't want to be sucked into the void like this. And so the ravine between life and death, that is your essence of animals called Homo sapiens. And then he just disappears and gets sucked into the light. Good for nothing, resource consuming garbage. Knives has a bit of a problem. Like that face he makes when he says resource consuming garbage is basically the same face he made as a kid, right? When he got mad at the one guy. So as far as he's concerned, there's this like essence that he is like absorbing humanity into. Like he's going to make humanity into a fuel instead of them consuming consuming resources. So that's terrifying. The idea that some of these plants could be powered by the very humanity they're housing. That's terrifying. I don't want to think about that. But, oh well, no problem. And then Legato looks up at him and says, I'll make Vash suffer eternal pain. Now the question is, was Legato really in control of his fate here? Was he really nihilistic and wanted Vash to kill him? Or was Knives making him do this and he was just going through with it? We don't know. And is Vash suffering the eternal pain is making Vash kill someone. And the episode called Sin. LR Town is interesting as a name. It's like, what does that even mean? And then we have him get the donuts. And it was really weird at first to see Vash start out really super happy, especially after Wolfwood's death. But then the moment that, God, the episode does it so well. The moment that it just stops making noise or Vash stops talking and the rest of the town is just chattering and Vash is just listening. And then we slowly hear him crying in grief because he left Meryl and Millie behind and Wolfwood's dead. That was so well done. And it's one of those show don't tell moments. The creator is letting you know how heartbroken Vash is without showing you until the very last moment and letting it sink into you as the reader that the facade, Vash is trying to put on this facade that everything's, Vash is trying to put on this facade that everything's okay. But this is the first time that the facade kind of falls apart. He can't keep up the act anymore because someone he actually truly, I would say honestly, since Rim, Wolfwood, Meryl, and Millie have been, especially Meryl and Wolfwood, have been two people he's cared of the most in the last who knows how many years, right? Because Vash is so used to being on the run. And this is the first time that people actually, come to him. Because, yeah, you could argue that, oh, well, Vash has had relationships with other people over the years. But, yeah, but he came to them, Vash, would go from town to town. He'd go up to the town in the sky, all this. And he'd see people, but then he would leave on his own terms and never really get involved with those people again. He met people and then left. Never to be heard of again. And this has probably been the first time that, someone like Wolfwood, under the Order of Knives, and someone like Meryl, under the order of the insurance company, were sent to go find him and follow him and get to know him. And now he's lost one of those people and could lose Meryl. And so obviously it's affecting him. So that whole scene was so well done. It was great. And then we go back. The blood is still on the ground of the chapel. It's still there. And then we cut to Millie. I love Millie with her pants. I love her pantsuit with the suspenders. And she's got the gun case. She brought the gun with her, I'm pretty sure. We think. Possibly. But she's still sitting there next to the coffee cup and the cigarettes. Sandwiches are gone, by the way. They were gone a long time ago. But Millie, God, Millie deserves a freaking medal. Millie was so brave and so good this episode, and her just sucking up her grief to be no, we got to go after him. If you let Vash go, Meryl, you may never see him again. And Millie's I don't want you to go through life with the regret that you never got to see him again because I never got to see Wolfwood again after we were together last. It's she's you need to be with him as much as you can be. It's oh my God. So yeah, just breaks your heart, right? Just absolutely breaks your heart. And we were talking in the Discord, and I think it was Lyndon that said this, was talking about how Millie comes across as super innocent and can seem childish, but Lyndon was Millie's one of the most emotionally mature characters in the whole show. And I like that Lyndon said it's because she's grown up with a family of all these siblings, so she knows how to act around them, whereas Vash and Meryl and Wolfwood, for all we know, have been only children and not around family in the same capacity. We even know with Meryl that she's distant from her family. So that was just, oh man. And then Vash finally tells Meryl what's up. She corners him and says, it's my fault. This is why you can't be with me. everyone around me ends up dying. And she's like, that's not an answer. I want you to be honest. Give it to me in your own words. And that's when he tells her about him and knives. And he goes through everything. He says everything to her and explains the whole situation, all that. And she cries. And he's like, that's why I should be alone. But I want Meryl to be like, no, Vash, you don't need to be alone. You shouldn't be alone. Don't do this. I don't want that to happen. My fear is that, I know we still have the movie. I know we still have Stampede. My fear is that Vash is going to like end up, him and Knives are going to kill each other. And they're going to die together. And then I don't want Meryl to be alone. I don't want Millie and Meryl to be alone at the end of this. Damn it. I want Vash to live. Damn it. Let us have nice things, show. After you've denied us the last 2 episodes, please let us have nice things. But yeah, it's just heartbreaking. And then I get why Vash is like, there's a girl who needs you. He's like, I gotta go. I don't want you being in danger, which you will be if you follow me against Legato, who has telekinetic powers. You will be. And also, you need to support Millie because she is needing someone to be a shoulder to cry on. And that's when Millie's like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm emotionally mature. We got this. And because Meryl tries to pass off that she doesn't need Vash anymore, but she's like, if you don't go see him now, we may never see him again. I just love how obstinate she is. She's like, we're going to go see him. Like, I freaking love Millie. Millie has just grown on me this whole series. And then she's like, I'm totally fine. And she's like crying. Streams of tears. And Meryl's like, damn it, Millie. If you can be this strong, then maybe we can make this work. She's like, do we know which way he went? And then she's like, don't forget anything because we're not coming back. And her crying as she says it, and Meryl's crying. This episode was so sad. It was such a good episode, but it was so damn sad. And so then we go to the town, and we go back to the town, and what I like about it is that the kids are like, oh, there's an adult crying. And Vash says, is there something wrong with that? Everyone feels like crying sometimes. And I think that's such a great lesson because a lot of times we are as a society expected that once you hit a certain age, you're not expected to cry anymore unless like a family member dies or something traumatic happens to you. But the reality is, no, we should not be bottled up emotional robots. If you need to cry about something, you need to cry about it. It's okay to cry as an adult. That's fine. That doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you any less than anyone else. It's like showing, you have some emotional side to you, and that's fine. And I like that Vash says that here to those kids. He's like, a friend of mine went away. And that's when Legato takes like over the kids, and it's freaking terrifying. And then everybody in the town passes out, and there's freaking Legato being like, are you going to draw? But if you do, he's like, I could hurt everybody in this town. And that's when he talks about every time you make that expression, my left arm shakes uncontrollably. My left arm which holds your hand. Oh, I love it. So he has the idea of his left arm. He holds his arm a lot. So he's like the control that holds your hands. Like his left arm is the one that's like telekinetically linked, I think, to things. But Legato brings up this point here that says that what you do affects others. And I don't disagree with Legato on that. I think that he brings up a good point, being like, your actions have consequences. And if you choose not to act, it still has consequences. So what you have to do is decide, what do you want to protect and how far will you go to protect it? And, again, he's like, by choosing to not, kill an antagonist, by choosing not to take action, you are putting people at risk. You can't save everyone. Someone is going to end up hurt. And it's just a matter of what are you going to do to try to stop it. And the thing about it is that it's this series, like Attack on Titan and others, pushed to such extreme situations. Like in our world, yes, there's a fair chance in like a business setting, you can talk out a conflict. You can negotiate a conflict. You can talk it out. You can end things civilly. That's fine. But in situations like that, there isn't violence on the table. That's not even an option, right? The moment you inject violence into a situation, someone is going to get hurt. That's the thing about it. It's the fact of violence will hurt someone. If there's violence in a conflict, someone will get hurt. If there's no violence and you all have a conflict and you're arguing about something and you work it out and talk it out and you create an understanding, that's one thing. But the moment you inject violence into it, someone's going to get hurt. Either the person you're trying to protect is going to get hurt, the person who's trying to hurt the person you're trying to protect is going to get hurt, or you're going to get hurt. But somebody is going to end up injured when it's all said and done, right? And Legato is kind of like, well, you not attacking the enemy has allowed these people to die. And he's like, are you satisfied with that? And he's like, you want to think that you have no blood on your hands, but you do. You just haven't physically dirtied them yourself. It's like, he's not wrong, but it's like you can't blame Vash for trying to do good and not hurt people. And he's like, if you shoot me now, then none of the stuff on the hill will happen. And so that's when Mid-Valley shows up and he's like, you're a monster. You destroyed July and Augusta and you drilled a hole in the 5th moon. You're a monster. As he takes a shot, you and he are the same breed. He's like, I'm the 11th gung-ho gun. Mid-Valley the horn freak, the man who plays the greatest music on the greatest stage. I freaking love Mid-Valley's design. I love his power. I love his demeanor this entire episode. Like, everything about him just oozed. Like, there was a vulnerability to Mid-Valley that was so interesting, where you can tell Mid-Valley's just doing this because he thinks he doesn't have a choice. And he's trying to, like, make his way to the top of the ladder because he knows everybody else might drown below him. But there's something so vulnerable about him and something so intriguing about him as an antagonist that I wanted more. And it was like, damn it. Nope. We got to kill Mid-Valley and Legato. They're both lovers. They have to go out together this episode. Also, the moment everybody finds out that Vash is there, they vacate. He's been there the whole time, which is kind of funny. But yeah, Mid-Valley's powers are really interesting. Sylvia, his saxophone. And so then he's just animated so well throughout this. And his voice actor's really good. Like, he's great. And then Legato making all the people go towards the line of fire and Vash protecting all of them. And Mid-Valley being like, well, I've got to commend your single-minded obsession with this dedication to not hurting people. Meanwhile, Meryl and Millie show up on the outskirts of town, and Meryl's like, I don't know if we should get involved. And Millie's like, well, come on, girl, you can do it. I love how soft Millie looks there. It's great. And that's when they stumble across the guy that has some water. And unfortunately, the moment he grabs her, it's like they're going to tie her up. It's like Legato's controlling them. Damn it. Damn it! And so, yeah, he has the gun. He fires at Mid-Valley, and he's like, the show must go on. It's like you want to sing Queen. And then the idea is he ricochets the bullets off of the pipe to damage the horn. But the thing that Mid-Valley didn't realize was one of the bullets lodged itself in the Gatling inside of his saxophone. So when he tried to fire it, it blew up in his face. And, you know, Vash was like, oh shit, I didn't want that to happen. And then it ends up killing him. And Vash is like, damn it. He can't catch a break. And so then we go to Legato, who is like, we should have died the instant we fell upon this sandy land. Now, what's curious is we don't know if this is Legato talking or Knives talking through Legato. We don't know if Legato's been influenced by Knives or what the purpose is. It seems like Legato was almost raised by Knives. Like he was, because he treats Knives like his master and he's his servant. So it makes you wonder if Legato was raised by Knives and Knives instilled in him this belief that they were all like useless and shouldn't belong on this planet and like created the nihilism that kind of infests itself within Legato. We don't know. We don't get to find out in this episode. But he definitely is nihilistic and believes that he shouldn't be on this earth anymore. The end is around the corner. And that's why The thing about it is, he lifts up his hand like he's sad. The thing about it is, at the end of things, it seems like he's only there to make Vash suffer. And everything he does is what Knives has commanded. And so you also wonder, like, has he known from the start that he was going to die and he's just developed this nihilistic sense of the world? Or was he really sad because he didn't want to die but realized he had no choice in the matter? It's really sad. I kind of feel for Legato a bit. And just Vash being like, do you hate me? Or no, Legato says, do you hate me? So many sad things have happened because of me. Everyone you meet dies. And he's like, did you think it would end this easily? You're not human. And I'll teach you that as a courtesy. So he's like, you could say that this is what you are. You're this power source. So yeah, it's like the power source is what he is, right? Which is so sad. It's like Vash can't control it. He's this power source. But then when he's thinking about Wolfwood and the others, he forces himself to like revert his hand back, which is great. He's able to resist Legato. And that's when the farmers and everything show up. And at first, he's like, you can shoot me. It's not going to bother me. But at first, it's like, Vash isn't going to shoot Legato because obviously Vash is like, no, I'm not going to kill you, or the farmers. But then Meryl and Millie get involved. I put on your left arm. What does he say there? He is waiting. He's looking forward to your visit. I put on your left arm because you aren't by his side. Oh, that's so freaky. That's so weird. Yeah, and his left arm is the one that's the gun. Oh, that's so weird. Shoot me. And it's like Legato. At this point, it's like, is Legato even controlling his own thoughts, or is Knives controlling Legato through Legato? We don't... Legato just doesn't want to live anymore, which is heartbreaking, right? And then Meryl and Millie show up. And the scary thing is that Legato's like, look, in order to save them, you're going to have to shoot me. You're going to have to choose of your own free will. Is their lives worth more than mine? Maybe it's only reasonable since you've lived for over 100 years. But that your way of life is nothing outside of comical. And then he makes fun of Rim, right? Calling her worthless. Just like me, but unlike you. Ah. Now the question is, did Legato make him shoot, or did he do it himself? And we want to make everyone happy. Don't force your way of life around others. No one has the right to take another life from other. It's like all these conflicting ideologies just going back and forth in Vash's brain. And it's so heartbreaking, right? Because he's trying to think of a way that we can make this all work out in the end. But he's pushed Vash into a corner where there's literally the only options are either Meryl and Millie die or Legato dies. And he has to make a choice. And God, Legato just smiling at him, knowing what he's going to do. It's heartbreaking. And then Vash decides to shoot him. Ugh. Ugh. Damn. I know my master, I will make him suffer eternal pain. Oh my God, it's just terrifying, right? Just terrifying. Ugh. Making Vash kill him. And Knives being so pleased. Because Knives didn't care about Legato. And just laughing. Oh my God. So you know now, Vash is like, I gotta go find Knives. I've gotta go stop him. This has gotta stop. Otherwise, my thing is he's gonna leave Meryl and Millie again. Obviously, because they can't go face Knives, but I don't want Vash to die, and I want him and Meryl and them to be happy in the end. But this show doesn't seem like it's gonna make it happy, and I don't like that. I feel like the show is not gonna give us a happy ending, which sucks. Oh, because I wanted to have a happy ending, but I don't think it's going to, and that's making me very sad. But yeah, it's heartbreaking because Vash, he makes a decision, right? And that's kind of the whole point of it that's sad too, is that Vash, if Vash stayed out of everyone's affairs, then it's one of those things like, what do you do? If he stays out of everyone's affairs, then no one he knows has to live or die, but then he doesn't get to experience it with everyone else. It's this lonely existence. So it's like, you can't blame him, but then at the same time, it's so damn sad. So sad. So yeah, we have 2 episodes left. Next week's the penultimate episode of this series, and then we have 1 more episode, and then the movie, and then Stampede. Just, what can we do, y'all? What can we do? I'm really excited to see what all is in store for us, but I'm also really nervous, especially with the penultimate episode. Yes, sir, Bob. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. This episode was so good, but it is gutting. So I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction discussion. I'm curious to read your comments down below, but I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Trigun. Bye.